You have been too easy to reach, too quick to respond, too eager to show up, too afraid of what happens if you don't. And deep down, you already know this. You've felt it. That quiet ache when you give everything and receive almost nothing. That hollow feeling after you drop your plans, your peace, your priorities for someone who wouldn't do the same for you. You tell yourself it's loyalty. You call it love. You dress it up as being a good person. But what if it isn't any of those things? What if your constant availability isn't a virtue, but a wound you've never had the courage to examine? Here's what nobody says out loud. When you are always there, people stop seeing you as a person. You become a function, a service, a guaranteed resource they can draw from without ever refilling. You answer at midnight. You cancel your own plans. You swallow your needs and smile while doing it. And the painful truth, the more you give, the less they appreciate it. The more available you are, the less valuable you become. Not because people are cruel, but because the human mind is wired to value what requires effort to obtain. What is always there becomes invisible, like oxygen, like furniture, like you. And you've been living like furniture in your own life. You were taught that being available means being loving, that showing up for everyone at all times is what makes you worthy of connection. That is one of the most quietly destructive lies you've ever believed. Because availability without boundaries isn't love, it's fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear that if you pull back even slightly, people will finally see what you've always suspected about yourself, that you aren't worth staying for unless you're constantly giving. So you give, and give, and give, until there is nothing left of you to give. Carl Jung said something that should stop you in your tracks. He said that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But here's the deeper truth Jung was pointing at, the part most people never reach. The reason you cannot stop being available isn't about the other person, it's about your shadow, that unconscious, unexamined part of you that learned somewhere in childhood that your worth was conditional, that love had to be earned through performance, through service, through never being inconvenient. Jung called it the persona, the mask we build to make ourselves acceptable to the world. And your persona is the helper, the reliable one, the one who never says no. But behind that mask, there is a person who is exhausted, invisible, and slowly disappearing. The psychology behind this is not complicated, but it is confronting. At some point in your life, being unavailable felt dangerous. Maybe you were ignored when you didn't perform. Maybe love in your home was transactional. Maybe you learned that needing things made you a burden. So your nervous system made a decision: stay available, stay safe, stay loved. That strategy may have protected you then, but it is destroying you now. Because you are not a child anymore, and yet you are still operating from a child's survival map in an adult world. Here's the illusion you've been living inside. You believe your availability is what makes you valuable. You think that if you stop being so accessible, people will leave, relationships will crumble, you will end up alone. But consider this. What if the relationships that only survive because of your constant availability were never real relationships at all? What if you've been maintaining connections through self-erasure? What if the version of you that everyone loves isn't actually you, but the service you provide? That's not connection. That's a contract, and you've been paying all the fees. When you stop being available, something profound happens. The people who were only there for your function, they fade. And yes, that hurts, but what remains is something rarer and more real. The people who stay when you have nothing to give. The ones who respect you more when you have limits. The ones who are drawn not to your usefulness, but to your presence. Scarcity creates value, not because you're playing games, but because you are finally telling the truth about who you are and what you will accept. Pulling back isn't punishment, it's revelation. It reveals the actual architecture of every relationship in your life. So here is what changes when you choose yourself. You stop responding immediately, not out of cruelty, but out of self-respect. You teach people that your attention is not an automatic reflex. It is a gift, and gifts are not given to everyone at all times on demand. You cancel plans without over-explaining. A simple, "I can't make it" is a complete sentence. Watch who respects it and who punishes you for it. That information is everything. You sit inside the discomfort of being temporarily unavailable. Your nervous system will panic. It will tell you that people are angry, that you're being selfish, that something terrible is about to happen. That panic is the wound speaking. Let it speak. Don't obey it. You redirect your energy towards yourself with the same intensity you've given to others. Write, create, rest. Pursue what you abandoned to be available for everyone else. Reclaim the hours you donated to people who never asked if you had anything left. You redefine what loyalty means to you. Loyalty is not self-destruction. Real loyalty includes loyalty to yourself, and anyone who calls you selfish for having a life of your own was benefiting from your self-abandonment. You become comfortable being misunderstood. Some people will call your boundaries coldness. They will say you've changed, and they're right. You have changed. You stopped being convenient. You started being real. Here is who you become when you stop being available to everyone. You become someone with weight, presence, gravity. People begin to feel the difference between when you're truly there and when you're not, and that difference means something. For the first time, your presence has power because your absence is possible. You stop being background noise and start being a voice people have to lean in to hear. Jung spent his life helping people individuate, to stop living as the masks they built for others and finally live as themselves. That process is uncomfortable. It costs you some relationships, it costs you approval, it costs you the identity of being the reliable one. But what it gives you is something no amount of approval can buy. It gives you yourself, and you have been missing for a long time. When did you first learn that being unavailable was dangerous? What moment taught you that you had to always be there for others to stay? Write it below. You might be surprised what surfaces. And if this video cracked something open in you, the next one will go even deeper. We're going to talk about why the people who love you the most are often the ones making you the smallest. Don't miss it.